Straight ahead on 12 News, the downside to sports.
I had headaches, sensitivity to light and sound.
Significant injuries to the head that were the topic of discussion today in Brooklyn Center. Plus, is it time to sell? We'll show you the 3 local suburbs with the highest uptick in home prices. But first, weather that keeps us grounded.
Keeps you anchored in reality.
12 News starts right now. Thunder, lightning, rain, sleet, and a whole lot of snow. Yes, we got it all on Thursday.
One Maple Grove resident says the thunder shook her home so hard, a picture fell off the wall. But as Renee Bonneau reports, it was all part of an unusual weather system that failed to rattle many hardy Minnesotans.
So just last week I put away my boots, my snow pants, my winter coat, and all my other winter accessories. But luckily we found some people in Golden Valley who were a lot smarter than I was.
The shovels were still out, waiting by the side of the house.
Pat Cosgrove knew better than to think we were done with winter. And it didn't take her long to realize a shovel wasn't going to cut it on a day like today.
We were going to shovel by hand, but it's too heavy and wet, so we decided Gary would have to do it with the snowblower.
She and her husband fought the urge to look forward to spring despite the signs popping up in their yard.
I had tulips maybe a little bit up, not the bulbs yet, but the tulips and daffodils were up. They've got to be shell-shocked now.
Keeps you anchored in reality.
James Amstutz kept his snowblower gassed up just in case.
I was waiting till I have to mow the lawn first, and then I know for sure, fairly sure, that winter will probably be over then.
And he wasn't put off having to drag it out again. He says, after all, a snowstorm in April isn't unheard of around here, and the extra moisture in his yard is a plus. But he's most relieved that snow is the worst of his problems.
I'm glad it's not Worthington, though. When you see those inch ice around these little twigs, I'll take this any day.
The key to making the most of a day like today is to think positively. At least we have one more day to do this. In Golden Valley, Renee Bonneau, 12 News.
Just get out a little aggression there
Right
on
there,
this
yeah.
spring, right? Well, the timing of this unspring-like weather couldn't have been worse for commuters.
No, if this looked like your drive into work this morning, you were lucky. At least this traffic was moving along Highway 610 in Brooklyn Park. Elsewhere in the metro, traffic was a complete parking lot, and shovels came out early to move the wet, heavy mess aside. So how much snow did we get? A National Weather Service weather watcher in New Hope says it adds up to about half a foot.
That's about 5.5 here, Mike. Yeah. Well, there's a 6.
Well, that's how much fell over 2 days in Steve Recker's backyard in New Hope. Reckers has been keeping records there for 46 years. He says this April may turn out to be among the top 10 in the last 50 years for snowfall. But he says it's even more unusual to be so cold for so long.
We have yet to have a 60-degree temperature. In fact, we've only had about 4 in the 50s. And the latest we've ever gone, not getting to 60, was April 22nd. And that was in 1975, so who knows what might happen this year, the way we're going.
Steve Reckers says we could come close to having the latest 60-degree reading on record. And it was no easy task for maintenance crews to remove all this heavy snow.
Plymouth snowplow drivers reported to work by 4 a.m., but the snow didn't come down in earnest until 2 hours later. By noon, all crews and contractors were out on the road removing snow. But perhaps the hardest job came a few days ago when crews had to start reattaching plows. Several snowplow trucks were already outfitted for the spring task of patching potholes.
We have dropped off some of the plows and wings and stuff and had pulled those off the trucks getting ready for the patching season and whatnot. But knowing that it can possibly still snow until May, we still stay somewhat ready.
Drivers plan to rest up to possibly be ready for another round of snow removal on Friday.
Paying for a mistake. That's what one Republican House Tax Committee member says about electronic pull tabs, which are supposed to fund the state's portion of the new Viking Stadium. Well, electronic pull tabs have fallen woefully short of projections. They were initially expected to bring in $34 million by the end of the year, but now E-pulltabs are expected to bring in only $1.7 million in 2013. And that has lawmakers proposing a variety of ideas to make up for the shortfall, everything from a tax on sports jerseys to a tax on stadium suites. Those proposals would impact all stores as well as the Twins, Wild, and Wolves. The state is on the hook for $348 million for the nearly $1 billion Viking Stadium.
Student leaders of a local charter school are hosting an event to raise awareness about the grim realities of sex trafficking in Minnesota. The event at Sage Academy is timely. It follows charges announced this week against 2 Brooklyn Park men accused of running a major sex trafficking ring that involved teenage girls. The sex trafficking awareness event is open to the public. It takes place Friday at 5 p.m. at Sage Academy Charter School in Brooklyn Park. Now to a serious problem affecting high school athletes. More athletes are being diagnosed with concussions, and today the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance held its 28th annual conference in Brooklyn Center. Experts at the event say there are things that coaches and trainers can do to better determine if an athlete has a concussion. Here's Sonia Goins.
And I just want to share with people what I've been through.
Jake Guy was an all-around high school athlete, but he's now sitting on the sidelines after suffering 3 concussions.
In August, I got my first concussion.
He got his first hit injury at football practice. His second came a few months later.
I was like 135, 140 pounds playing against the varsity defense. And one kid wrapped me up and another kid hit me. It was a big hit.
Jake got his 3rd concussion during a wrestling match.
I was thrown to the mat on my head. I landed on my head. After that, I came home and my parents thought that I had been drinking because I was so loopy and so out of it.
He says his road to recovery was long and hard, mostly because his first concussion was not detected until months after it happened.
I had headaches, sensitivity to light and sound.
Kids are getting bigger, they're getting faster, they're getting stronger, the hits are getting, harder, and so that is going to result in more concussions or more serious injuries.
The Minnesota Brain and Injury Alliance wants coaches and trainers to be able to pinpoint brain injuries more quickly.
Sensors in helmets or different online testing that can be done. So if there's a baseline test that's done with an athlete before a suspected injury, then they can immediately pull them off the field.
They also want players to know that just because they're cleared to get back on the field, that might not be the case in the classroom. People who have suffered brain injuries often say their attention span is 0 to none, and it's hard for them to solve problems.
It was hard for me to recover.
Jake says his grades slipped and it was hard for him to focus. He says he still has to do things differently.
I totally changed the way I think and organize. I have to write things down because I don't remember things sometimes.
Now, after undergoing therapy, Jake is doing much better. He even started his own business, and he's going to college in the fall. Now, if you think you've suffered a concussion, you're going to want to see a doctor if you have any of the following symptoms: headache, vomiting, dizziness, confusion, and blurred vision. Mike and Alex, if a person has trouble breathing or has severe headache, they should go directly to the hospital.
All right, thank you very much, Sonia. Well, coming up, unparalleled zeal.
They are words you don't hear every day, but they perfectly describe this week's standout student. And later in sports, Maple Grove High School names a new boys hockey coach.
But first, we'll take a check of your AccuWeather forecast. The weather isn't heating up, but here's something that is. Twin Cities home prices. In fact, figures from March showed a 17% increase over last year, one of the biggest spikes on record. Locally, the suburbs with the biggest jumps were Crystal, which had a 46% increase in the median sales price, and Brooklyn Center, which had a 29% increase. Those two markets had depressed housing prices and are now finally seeing an uptick. Also experiencing a surge in prices is Plymouth, where the median sales price increased 8% over a year ago. One of the contributing factors to the climb in prices is low inventory, leading to bidding wars from buyers. Another factor is a decline in foreclosure sales. Well, this week's standout student is accomplished in academics and wise beyond her years.
There's a maturity about Park Center senior Jolene Rotich that has everything to do with her background.
From the moment I saw you, I just trusted you. I felt that you were false and deceitful.
To understand what sets 17-year-old Jolene Rotich apart from her high-achieving classmates, you have to look at how far she's come.
The area that we come from in Kenya, it's in the village, so there's not as many opportunities.
Born and raised in Kenya until age 6, Jolene pursues academic and leadership opportunities with an unparalleled zeal, says English teacher Stan Sherwood.
I can see every day that she's thinking about how do I really learn this as opposed to how do I master something for a test, which is fine, but it certainly takes her that step beyond and it'll serve her well going down the road.
A near straight-A student in the rigorous International Baccalaureate program, Jolene's accomplishments usually involve leadership roles. Cross-country team captain, vice president of the Brooklands Youth Council, and committee chair of the National Honor Society, to name a few.
It's just being able to prioritize your time and also finding what's important and just going for it.
Her hard work and dedication are paying off in the form of a prestigious Wallen Scholarship, $16,000 to help pay for college.
I think in the future I would like to possibly go into international relations, and if not that, then maybe leadership and promoting youth voice.
For the past 6 years, Jolene has been involved in Model UN, awarded Best Delegation this year in the state competition. It's raised her awareness of international issues, but this teen already has a keen understanding of how important it is to work together.
She certainly has the academic piece, but this is really somebody who's got lots of skills.
And Jolene plans to attend Bethel University in the fall. Still ahead, the place to go in Plymouth to get some much-needed spring relief.
But first in sports, 2 Armstrong graduates skate into college hockey's Frozen Four. We'll hear from their high school coach coming up next. John Jacobson now with a look at sports, and the Maple Grove hockey team now knows who their new coach will be.
Maple Grove alum, too young for the current players to know him, but I'm sure recognize his name, though, from the record books at the school. 6 weeks following the resignation of Maple Grove hockey coach Gary Stefano, the Crimson have a new head coach for the boys program, and he's a Maple Grove alum. Tom Starkey was hired Wednesday as the Crimson head coach. Starkey, who wore number 18 when he played 4 seasons for the Crimson in the late 1990s, graduated in 2000. He later played collegiate hockey at Air Force. Tom has also been an assistant in the Wayzata High School hockey program. Starkey is 4th in career scoring at Maple Grove with 62 goals and 59 assists. District officials are declining interview requests for now. It's a big day for 2 local hockey players and their families, but also for their old high school. Armstrong grads Corey Thorson of St. Cloud State and Tommy Fallon of Yale are skating in the NCAA Frozen Four semifinals. Thorson, number 39 here while playing at Armstrong, enters the semifinals against Quinnipiac with 13 goals and 8 assists for St. Cloud State. He's a 2008 Armstrong grad. 2009 grad Fallon, wearing number 3 in this high school footage, is Yale's top-scoring defenseman and 4th leading scorer overall with 7 goals and 16 assists. For their former high school coach, it's a big thrill to see Fallon and Thorson have this kind of success.
It's extremely exciting. I can't tell you how great those 2 guys are and how great they were for our program. And to watch them play in the biggest stage of the NCAAs is going to be incredible. I can't wait for a SCSU Yale final, and then I don't know what I'll do. Well, with Corey, you know, he's always been a high-end talent guy, and that when he was recruited for juniors in college, you know, everyone talked about his potential at the end. He wasn't quite there as a high school player in terms of, you know, Division I ready at the time, but everyone knew that he was going to be ready when he's 22, 23 years old. But with Thomas, you know, he was one of the smartest players I've ever coached, and we all knew that he had good things coming, and not only was he good on the ice, but he was great in the classroom, and he you know, fits in very well with Yale and the Yale style of hockey. And
it does seem more like hockey weather again, but spring sports teams are getting more than a little frustrated with the late arrival of spring. Jay Wilcox is standing by with a local coach.
Thanks, John, and no doubt it's been a frustrating spring already for coaches and athletic directors, and most of all for the players in spring sports. And we are joined today by Jim Coltis, who's the softball coach at Maple Grove High School. And Jim, this was supposed to be your home opener today, and our telecast opener on Channel 12 when you were supposed to host Champlain Park. Obviously, that's not happening. How frustrating is it getting for all the coaches and players?
Well, I think it's getting frustrating for everybody, just like you said. I mean, everybody's getting a little bit of spring fever being inside all the time. You know, our kids were begging us to hit them fly balls yesterday in the parking lot. So the kids, they want to get outside as well. But we're super fortunate here in the Osseo district to have the dome, us, Osseo Park Center, all the teams, baseball, softball, lacrosse. We can use this dome, and that helps a ton.
Hard to say for sure, but looking at your field right now, how far out do you think before it might be playable?
Well, you know, the field itself was getting pretty good until we got this snowstorm. Our ground was pretty good. We got our fence up out there. The frost was coming out. You know, right now we're planning on playing next Tuesday, which would give us Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That would get us close to being back on schedule of what the spring is supposed to look like.
Obviously, safety of players is probably the first concern in terms of the field, but how much do you look at not wanting to, you know, get the field wrecked up long term by getting on it too early also?
Well, that was part of the reason we snowplowed our field a little while ago, so our ground was starting to get a lot better out here. And it's not so bad with the outfield grass because even if the frost isn't all the way out, the kids can wear metal cleats now, and that really helps. It's not the old plastic ones where they're slipping and sliding in the outfield grass. So, you know, if we can get on there, we can play. If those metal cleats help a ton.
All right, thanks, Jim, and best of luck with the weather. The only thing we can do is cross our fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jim Coltis, the Maple Grove softball coach. Back to you, John.
All right, thanks, guys. And I talked to officials at a couple of different high schools today, and they said you don't have to get creative with the scheduling now. They can't do anything right now. There's been a handful of tennis matches, but even those have been few and far between, and they'll be playing probably some softball doubleheaders coming up, and that's if the weather improves. Who knows? You know, it's only mid-40s forecasted through the middle of next week, so it's as bad a spring as any of them can remember.
At least everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
At least everybody's in the same boat. Thanks, John. If you can't really get away from the snow, here's an alternative way to get away.
Plymouth's prime event for spring is up next. Finally, if you're a little tired of looking at a gray, snowy landscape, head over to the Plymouth Creek Center.
And there are beach landscapes and so much more showcased at the annual Primavera Art Exhibition. Paintings, photographs, sculptures, and pottery from adult and high school artists are chosen to be a part of this art show. The show opens Thursday night and it runs through Monday. It's the 17th year for the event, and besides taking in art, you can enjoy a variety of live entertainment.
This year especially, I think we need something bright and sort of uplifting, and we have some wonderful art pieces, you know, colorful and vibrant.
You can also check out the winning banners by adult and student artists. You will see some of these banners go up on city street signs later this year, and admission is free. That's it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
We'll see you back here tomorrow, beginning at 4.